So I like showed them my value, right? And it was already something that I was using. And they were like, okay, we're so in.
This is the place to ask questions. This is the place to take notes. This is the place to learn strategy. Welcome to the Visible Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Lewis, and this is the podcast you'll love listening to week after week. After a history in Hollywood, I know what it takes to get visible. And as an entrepreneur, you don't have to keep feeling frustrated and trapped, not able to get yourself out there. Myself, my guests, and even my family are here to lift you up, guide you, and give you powerful ideas so that you can get your unique voice into the online space. Ready? Let's do it.
And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Visible Entrepreneur Podcast. We are in PR month. Press, publicity, all that stuff. How do you get your name out there? This can be such a huge struggle, and I so understand it. So that's why we've dedicated an entire month to chat about this. So today I have my wonderful guest, Ashley Love, and she's going to be talking with us specifically about how do you get brand deals and sponsorships. Yeah. No one talks about this, so I'm really excited to talk about this. So welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. We connected a while ago on Facebook, and I've been a huge admirer of hers, and so I was so thrilled to bring her on. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Ashley Love is a public relations coach who teaches female service-based entrepreneurs how to earn media and establish their authority in their industry. Huge topic. So needed, my dear. So give us a little bit of a background on your journey and how you've been helping entrepreneurs lately, specifically influencers.
I am so excited. Okay, so my journey is going to sound so crazy, so don't follow my journey. So I got a bachelor's degree in English, and when I graduated, I was like, what the heck do I do? Like, I kind of want to teach, kind of don't really want to teach. So I did teach for a little bit, but my first public relations job, I didn't know that's what I was going to do. And I get to this office and they were like, listen, like you're going to be the lead for the American Lung Association and you have to win awards. So I hope you're good. Have a nice day. And I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. So I like panicked and I was like, okay, I want to understand the journalism space more. So then I got a master's in multimedia journalism. And then I was like, okay, this is great. Public relations is great. So I'm like, I'm going to switch and go to journalism. And so then I became the editor of a newspaper at like 24. I was running my own department, which was crazy.
Really crazy.
So crazy. And I was doing all the fun stuff. Like I did all of like the nightlife and the business sections, which is what prompted me to fall in love with business so much. And then I wrote the political pieces. So then I was like, okay, if I'm going to write politics, then I need to understand politics more. So then I got a bachelor's in political science.
Just throwing degrees out there. Like.
Yeah, that's like what I did. So then I was like, okay, so I did that for a while, loved it, worked with politicians on their campaigns and things, which was really cool. And then I'm like, okay, now I want to go full circle and go get another master's in public relations. So then I went and did that, started running my own marketing department at 25. I think I was 25.
Amazing.
Yeah, when I started running my own department. And then, now I work for myself and I help just really awesome women get paid. That's my thing.
Like, I love it. So, yeah, right? Make some money, honey.
Make some money. Get that coin.
Exactly. So I want to dig a little bit into the influencer space and how you've kind of been able to help people because if, for lack of a better term, you can have your media kit, you can get, onto Entrepreneur or Huffington Post or whatever, but that's not really paying you. You're hoping that you're getting traffic from that. That is to establish you as more of an authority in your niche and all that kind of stuff. But we are looking for a little bit of return. So let's talk specifically about brand deals and sponsorships. How do you help your clients get those elusive deals that seem to be only reserved for like actors and sports people and all that stuff?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, first things first is I got my first brand deal, like a good brand deal. I got a free flight to California when I went for that Soul Success Summit. And so I only had like 1,100 followers on Instagram at the time, and airline totally paid for my trip there and back.
Wow.
So
That's pretty cool.
And I was like, this is awesome, because it was like a $400 flight. And I was like,
right.
More money to go shopping with. So,
right.
So you don't need a large following, but what I do is I really like hone in on my influencers. Like, what are you really doing? What makes you unique, right? Because there's so many that I follow, like I'm obsessed, but like there's something that makes every single influencer unique. And so it's really important to figure out what it is that makes you unique and who your audience is, and then what kind of value you can provide. And I have all these like mathematical equations to figure out, what your post is worth. But it was so interesting to me when I first got into the influencer space, how many influencers were not getting paid at all.
Oh yeah. I think it's a huge epidemic with a lot of entrepreneurs. And it's like this flashy posting on social media, but in terms of like stable monthly revenue, that's where the struggle comes in.
Yeah. It honestly like totally stressed me out when I started talking to some of these girls, and they were like, yeah, I don't have like anything going on. And I was like, what? One of my clients, she has a following of 300,000 just on her Instagram. And she's like, I don't get paid for anything.
Wow.
She's like, I do get free trips and stuff like that, but I'm not like paying the bills with that. And I was like, what? I was like, let's maybe backtrack here. And she's like, you mean people will pay me for posts? I'm like, yeah. And like, these companies all have a marketing budget. Everybody has a marketing budget. It's just up to you to tap into the marketing budget and show the value that you're going to bring to the brand.
Well, and I think this is a great point, because this is the struggle. We all focus on growing our list, growing our social media accounts, making sure that all of that grows. But then we're like, okay, what do we do now? Whether it's a podcast, whether it's an Instagram account, whatever it may be. So for people that are really wondering like, okay, how do I actually approach and figure out who to approach to get a sponsorship or a brand deal? What are those steps that you would recommend?
Oh, good question. Okay. So first thing is get really intimate with your numbers, like date them, take them on a date, like wine and dine your numbers, like know everything about them. That I think is the most important thing first, because once you know your numbers, right, then you have a benchmark and you can kind of show where the value is and all these kind of things. And then that also lets me know how we're going to price you out to pitch these brands. And then and then after you like get really intimate with them, and I'm a freak, I just use like an Excel sheet to track my stats daily.
I love this because I hate doing all of that. So I'm like, there are people out there that do it and enjoy it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I'm so weird. I'm like, there's a quote, who said it? I can't remember his name, but he said like marketing without data is like driving with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
And I'm
Absolutely.
like, heck yeah, it is. Like, so get really intimate with those numbers. I mean, know them like inside and out. And then you have to like, so brands will, they have a budget for micro influencers, right? And so it's really just about engaging with them and engage with the brands that you're already using. That's like a big one. People are like, who do I talk to? I'm like, hi, you have an entire house full of things that you use on a regular basis.
True. True.
So one of the deals that I got, like, okay, I'm going to tell you about 2 deals I got, and it has nothing to do with being in the public relations space, right? So one is the Yes To products, because I think, so they're like a natural like skincare thing. They do a lot of masks and things.
Oh, cool.
But every weekend I like spend Friday and Saturday on my skin. That is like me time to the extreme. And so I was Instagramming it a lot, putting it on my stories and things, build a relationship with them. And then they're like, okay, cool. Like now we'll pay you, right, for these things. And because I pitched to them, I'm like, hey, here's my value, right, is that I'm on camera all the time. My skin has to look good. And therefore my audience is also on camera all the time, and their skin has to look good. And they were like, oh, okay, great. So I like showed them my value, right? And it was already something that I was using. And they were like, okay, we're so in. And then the other company that I'm like, one of my favorite deals I've ever gotten was from Delighted by Hummus.
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 I love this.
It is a dessert hummus.
Oh my
Best,
God.
literally best thing I've ever eaten in my life. They were on Shark Tank, and which was so weird because I'm sitting here eating their hummus. I got the brownie batter hummus, which tastes exactly like brownie batter. And I'm sitting here dipping into my strawberries and I'm watching Shark Tank. And then there they were like on my screen. And I was like,
Wow.
what's happening?
Synchronicity.
I was like, I love this. So, and I was Instagramming it all the time. And I mentioned them like in blog posts and like, because I use them all the time. Like everybody buy their stuff. It's delightful. So
Right.
literally. So then I sent them an email and within 30 minutes, they were like, hey, we have a budget for micro influencers. Is that something like you'd be interested in?
Wow.
And it was all because it's something I'm already using. So I don't like think, like the brand, like it's an obscure thing, right? Because you're using products all the time. And so
Absolutely.
think about like your audience, right? Like what are the hair care, right? Because we're all on camera as entrepreneurs, like makeup products, clothing lines, shoes, your home, right? Pitch somebody about your office. That's a total brand deal that you can get. And so I always encourage people just like look around your house, right? Start there. Because I think that's the easiest pitch too to make is when it's something you're already using and excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, because I think there's kind of two categories here. There's like looking around your house, doing things that you're using every day. Like I'm sure like where is my little pen? I have one of these Poppin pens. Like I'm sure I could approach Poppin about the pens and that's absolutely fantastic. But I feel like there's two different kinds. And one is like, for example, I have a fitness expert who's a friend of mine. And like, whenever she mentions a certain brand, if someone buys with her link, she gets a certain cut of it. So I assume that that's one kind of brand deal and that the other one is where you're getting like a monthly retainer for talking about that. Is that true?
Yeah. So there's a different, like couple different ways that you can approach the brand deal. So you could, get free product and then have an affiliate link situation. I never post like a product on a regular basis, right? So I'll post about Delighted by Hummus and I'll post about products until like a couple times. And then once I build a relationship with them, then I'm like, okay, great. Now you can pay me. So, or give me an affiliate situation or something like that. But I just get some kind of a deal in line, right? Where you're making the affiliate sale. So you can do that. Affiliate sales are a great way to do that. I just did that with SandCloud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed with them. And so, which is interesting too, because once I partnered with them, then I had like reusable straw companies and things like that reaching out because they saw that
that's cool.
Connected with them. So the affiliate's a good one. And then you could also get paid for like a one-time post, which a lot of people do for like Mother's Day and, specific holidays and things like that. And then you could set up a monthly retainer kind of a situation.
I love that. I think that for like me personally, if I was looking for like sponsorships or branding deals, I'm already an affiliate for so many products like ConvertKit and ClickFunnels and all of that, that like having one more thing to talk about to like have to sell would drive me nuts. But I feel like if I was on a monthly retainer to post once a week or whatever it would be, then I'd be like, okay, I can manage that. I can schedule that. That just, I don't know, that like feels better to me.
Yeah. And here's the thing is like these brands, right? I mean, they have the budget and they would rather it come from an influencer than from an ad that they're running.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like the conversion rate would be so much higher.
It's so much higher because we trust, our friends, we trust the people in our kind of space, right? We have this group of people in our lives that we trust. And like, I follow fashion bloggers and I'm like, if they tell me this is in fashion, then that's what I'm going to buy. Right. Like,
right.
I trust their opinion. And so that's super important. It's like, yeah, just work with them.
In terms of what do you think, because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking like, well, what kind of a following do I have to have in order to start approaching these people? And we're not saying to like call Target tomorrow. That may not be a good idea. But in terms of like an average commission or a monthly budget or whatever from a company, what kind of numbers are they needing from you? And what kind of commitment are they looking for so that you can craft your pitch appropriately?
That's a good question. So a micro influencer is anyone with like usually like 1,000 to 2,000 followers, upwards of like 40,000 followers, you're still considered like a micro influencer. Crazy to me because I'm like 40,000. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's a lot, right?
That's a lot, but you're
to
still
us, I guess.
Yeah, to us that's a lot, but to like the targets, right? That's not a ton of people. And so the general rule is like $7 to $10 for every 1,000 followers you have is what you should kind of be pitching them on. And so if you only have 1,000 followers, right, then you're looking at like a $10 thing, right, which isn't like a lot.
Right, but it's something, and
it's something.
It motivates you to get more followers for sure.
Right, it totally motivates you to get more followers. But then also in those situations too, then you could throw in the affiliate situation and make more money kind of that way. So they're looking for how many followers you have, and then the biggest thing, and I'm gonna say people are gonna hate me.
That's okay.
Really don't care how many followers you have. It's all about the engagement rate. Because so many people will just buy followers, and then you see them and they have like 100 likes on their photo, but they have like 500,000 followers.
Right.
So brands look at that and they're like, okay, like you're not going to do anything for me because your audience is not engaging. So I typically say before you pitch a brand, have a 3 to 4% minimum engagement rate.
Yeah, I think those are healthy numbers for sure.
Yeah, which isn't like a ton, right? And I get like people like they freak out. They're like, "Oh, I have a 3% engagement rate." I'm like, "No, that's good." Like, I'm like, "No, that's good. That's good on Instagram. Like, you're good." And they're like, "Okay."
Do you think that Instagram is one of the main channels that they look at?
I think Instagram. I think it depends on how you're approaching them, right? Because you could have like a huge blog, right? So when I pitched the airline, my Instagram or whatever had like 1,200 or less like followers, but my blog was getting 500,000 views a month from Pinterest. And so they were like, oh, okay, totally worth it, right? So look at the other avenues and where you're kind of strongest into. Like I have ones who totally pitch just based on their Pinterest numbers.
That's awesome.
Or their YouTube channel or their Facebook Live engagement. So just kind of look at where you're the strongest and then make your pitch kind of around that.
Beautiful. And how do you, let's take Instagram for example, but this applies to Twitter and Facebook and everything else. How do you make your profile like brand onlooker ready so that when they come and they look like they're getting what they need to see, not just from your numbers, but also like how you present yourself?
Oh, good. I love that. Okay. So the most important thing is first of all, like know your brand, like have a brand aesthetic and know exactly what you're going to go for. So before when I did all pink things, right, all of my pictures were really light and whimsical and they had pink in there somewhere. And my whole Pinterest was just pink. And then for a while it was all silver. And so kind of pick a color, make sure it's kind of incorporated in your photo or use the same filter on all your photos. That's like another way to make it a cohesive look. And then the other thing too is make sure you have contact information in the bio. That is a huge mistake that people will make. Because they'll assume that it's okay to just have that little email button there, which is fine if you're on your phone, right? You can click it and go email them. And it's no big deal. But on your laptop, it's not really like that.
Right.
And so I do most of my Instagram work on my laptop, not on my phone.
I do too.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of times we're thinking like, oh, everybody's using it on mobile, but we're not.
And followers, yes, are going to be using it on mobile, but like other, brands in your niche and also people that are looking to book you as an influencer for their brand are probably going to be on desktop. I think that's a great point.
Know your audience, right? Optimize for mobile, but also keep those brands in mind who are using the desktop. And then take high quality photos. And I don't mean go get a photographer.
Please.
Yeah. Do not, you don't have to go out and get a photographer. You can take really good iPhone pictures, but do not take crappy like iPhone photos. And if you feel like you can't take good photos, get a stock photo account.
Yeah.
Just get a stock photo account and your Instagram story can be like not as attractive. And that's fine because that's real. It's happening in the moment. People expect that of your Instagram story and not of your feed.
Absolutely. And I think this is a mistake that most entrepreneurs make. They focus so much on the pitching and all of that, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but you have to come across as a professional. This is a business. So a certain amount can be covered, sure, with a selfie or whatever. But I mean, even if you have to go to a local university and find someone that's enrolled in a photography class to work with you to get your photos done, it's so important. I mean, I really lucked out that I married a guy who also does photography, but like, trust me, we've had shoots where he does it his way and I'm like, no. Then we do it my way with the color temperature and the branding that's so important. And that way you don't have to jump over that hurdle, right? It's already there. People look at you and they already trust you and see you as a professional because you have those photos. It is so important. So thank you for bringing up that point. So important.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's seriously one of my biggest pet peeves is when
Me too.
An influencer come to me and they'll have this great following and then their photos are way off. And the other thing too is like, I like that you brought up the photographer thing because so I have an influencer and her brand is very light and fun. She's super blonde. Like that's her brand. And she worked with a photographer and all of her photos were dark. I mean, like dark.
No.
It was like, I looked at them and I turned the brightness up on my phone because I'm like, I'm like, my phone brightness must be down. And I turned it up and I was like, nope, it was not. And she was upset. She's like, I can't use these photos. And I was like, well, didn't you like look at her aesthetic before you booked her maybe? Like,
right. Well, and this is where we have to really be empowered as in terms of booking our photographer. And I teach this in the Visibility Vault because Nathan and I actually go through and show you us doing a photo shoot and the lighting and all that stuff, because you need to be making a Pinterest board with photos that you want if you don't have old photos of yourself to show him or her. And you have to be sure that you know, like the regulations. Are they using 25 megapixel cameras? I've gone to shoot with a photographer and they were using like 15, so you couldn't zoom in on anything. Drove me nuts. And a lot of us don't know this kind of information, and that's why I try to say it as much as I can. Like, you are the person that has control of the situation, and we tend to go into a photo shoot giving them all the power because we're not totally sure what we're doing. So the best thing that you can do is make a mood board and be very communicative. Okay, what megapixel is your camera? Okay, do you have a lighting kit? Do you have a bounce if we're shooting outside? Making sure that if you're going to be shooting like indirect sunlight, the sun's actually hitting the back of your head and that there's a bounce happening so that it's not like shining directly in your face, like you're on the surface of the sun. And making sure that you get shots that are landscape and wide for your website, but also headshots that are more portrait size so that you have flexibility when you go to post, so that you're able to theme your Instagram grid and have your really cute headshot on your profile. Even just those small things can make such a big difference.
oh my gosh. Yeah. And I love what you said about like just being empowered, right? Because I think a lot of times too, that we forget we're the CEO of our company.
Right?
That is like, that's a big thing. That's a big
We're the
thing.
boss.
Right. You're the boss. Like, and that was like, that was a big thing I focused on last year was like CEO mindset. I was like, please start thinking like a CEO, right? And you're not going to walk into these photo shoots, you're not going to walk into these brand deals timid and shy, right? You know your value, you know what you're bringing, and you know what you expect out of the relationship. And so don't be afraid to get it.
Absolutely. So let's move across and talk about, because I have a podcast, obviously you have a podcast. I think a lot of people out there are getting into the podcast game, especially this year, which is very exciting. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, how do I get sponsorships for my podcast where I'm either paid to mention specific things or become an affiliate for specific products? So do you have experience in this area, and what advice do you have for our listeners out there who maybe don't have, you know, a million downloads, but they have enough to get a little bit of attention from somebody?
I love that question. Okay, so there's a couple things that you could do. One, I always recommend getting a Patreon account.
Yes.
So many people don't have one. And I'm like, get a Patreon.
I just heard about this last month. I had no idea what Patreon is. And they're like, we're celebrating, I think it was like their 5-year anniversary. I'm like, why have I never heard of you? So Patreon, look it up.
Patreon, yeah, guys, if your subscribers can pledge like $1 an episode, right? And if you're only putting out 4 episodes a month, right, which is like pretty normal, right? An episode a week, your people are only spending $4. But If you have 100 people, now you're making $400 a month for work that you were already doing.
Absolutely.
So really simple. It's a no-brainer for your subscribers, and it's a no-brainer for your bank account. So that's the first thing. And then
Awesome.
Approach it kind of the same way you would any other kind of brand deal, right? You could sell commercials. You could sell like 30-second commercials, and brands will pay for that, right? Because you have an engaged audience, right? They're subscribed. They've opted in to listen to you on their iTunes account every single week. And so brands will pay for that. And so don't be like afraid to approach them. Be like, hey, I have a podcast. Do you have a 30-second commercial I could play during my show? Most brands do. Or they'll have you just mention them, right? Super simple. Something, that you could do. And a good way to find those brands too is like, this is going to sound really terrible, but I reverse engineer Facebook ads. And so if you're spending money on a Facebook ad, you obviously have a marketing budget, right? And so a Facebook conversion rate is probably not going to be the same thing as your conversion rate as an influencer. And
Very true.
A really great place to pitch is reach out to those brands, right? And say to them, hey, I have a podcast, I have a blog, I have an Instagram. Let me work with you instead. I'm running all of these Facebook ads.
I love this idea because especially if you are a similar, how do I say this? People that are pitching to me in Facebook ads who have targeted me are most likely targeting entrepreneurship, Marie Forleo, Amy Porterfield, the pages that I've liked. So if my target audience is similar, which they are because they're entrepreneurs, then that makes total sense to me that the ads that I'm seeing, that would be a great place to like approach and, pitch myself. So I think that's a great idea.
Thanks. Yeah, that is my terrible thing that I do. I'm like, all these marketers spend all this time on their Facebook ads. And if it's something that I know that I'm into and my audience is also into, then I totally reach out to them.
That's awesome. And I think that another thing that you can do, if you're maybe not at that level yet and your show is still 1 to 2 years old, what I did for this season is I actually recorded commercials to my own stuff. So stuff I was an affiliate for, products that I have, my mastermind, you'll be seeing it at the end of this episode. Ooh. I just shot it myself and it's just my face and I put the link to it and the logo to it. And that's what I'm doing. So my podcast has become my #1 free content source. Like I'm not doing blogging anymore. I'm not doing a lot of other stuff. It's here. So just because you can't necessarily land a sponsorship yet doesn't mean that you can't make money off of your show. So even if you have to shoot your own commercials, do it. It is all about being the boss and making money for yourself. And it can be super profitable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is a big thing. I think that people forget too, is to like promote themselves in these, in these things, right? I do it every single episode of my podcast. I'm like, hi, rate and review the show. And if you do, you get a free consult, right? And that's a way for me to get free discovery calls every single month.
Heck yeah, girl. I love that.
It's so simple, right? It took me 12 seconds to say that, like not even. And then you have a bunch of discovery calls coming.
Absolutely. Awesome lead generator. I love it.
I am all about the lead gen.
So in terms of, I think we're coming a little bit to the end of our show. We've been going 20 minutes or so. What is one thing that you wish every single person, no matter their level of current following, would know when it comes to being an influencer and starting to make money from their knowledge?
I love that. That's such a good question. I just read this quote by Bill Gates, and it's my favorite quote now of all time. And he said, if I was down to my last dollar, I would spend it on public relations. And what I thought that was so powerful, right? It's Bill Gates.
Really
and he's
cool.
like, the most important thing you can do is public relations and be an advocate for yourself and for your brand, because those media mentions, those brand deals are worth far more than running a Facebook ad or anything like that. The status that you can get from them is just astronomical. And so really just focus on being your own advocate.
I love that. Yes, be your own advocate. And what's great about in the beginning, when you're focusing on PR, it can feel very frustrating because you're seeing other people get a lot of success through paid methods like Facebook ads. The difference is you're able to start making whatever you've been featured in evergreen. So if you visit my Twitter account, that just has all the list of the things that I'm featured in, you know, automatically posting every hour or two. And you're able to have all these wonderful logos that establish trust so that when you then invest in Facebook ads or whatever lead gen that you're doing, they're able to look and see, oh my gosh, and see, it's just a normal feeling for people to see those logos and further trust you. Yes. So that's the reason why we're trying to get you in front of more PR opportunities and why this is PR month. It's not a pie in the sky only meant for Tony Robbins kind of a thing. Yeah. It's meant for everyone. So don't count yourself out. I know it's really easy to do that, especially when you're starting out, or if you're doing coaching, you're like, well, who am I to, you know, be featured? Anyone can be featured. The key is trusting yourself, doing your homework, like Ashley said, and also starting to pitch yourself and think through it. I'm sure, I don't know, Ashley, if you deal with this too. I get about one podcast pitch a day now, and some are really great. Most are not. And it's because people are pretty much saying like, hey, can I come on your show? And what should I talk about? That's not my job. I don't have time for that. Yeah. Right? Versus I had the best email I ever got. It's in the Publicity Jumpstart book, but it was from a guy named Jonathan, and he pitched his guest. And normally I like guests to pitch themselves, but it's fine. And I'm reading through it, and he said, I loved this episode of your show. This is what I took away. I took action on this. Let me break down this guest for you, what she can do, what her specific areas of expertise are, and why she can help specifically your listeners. Then here's a link to her press kit. Here's a link to what she was featured in, 2 days ago. Here's a link to her video where she's speaking on this. Oh, and by the way, I loved your show so much. I just gave it a 5-star review. Keep up the amazing work.
Yes.
Mic drop.
Boom. And you're like, great. I want more people like you to come on. And that's what you want in public relations, right? You want to be that person. You want to send that pitch. And I used to do that all the time. I get emails still because I'm still on this journalist feed or whatever. And I get emails all the time and it says for immediate release, no hello, nothing. And I'm like, cool, trash, bye. Right? I don't even read it. Mm-hmm. But when I get emails when I was a journalist, they're like, hey, I really want to talk more about this politician and this meeting you attended. And can you explain that to me? And then we have a full conversation and they're like, hey, I'm also in, this space. I'm an attorney. Let me maybe talk about this. Or I'm a small business owner. Let me talk about how this policy impacts me because of the writing you did. And I'm like, cool, I want to work with you.
Right. And I think that's the secret, is that whenever you pitch, whether it's for a podcast or a brand opportunity or whatever, you always give value. It has nothing to do with you. I don't care if you're Tony Robbins. Doesn't matter. This is all about building relationships so that they not only like you and feature you, but they do it again and again, and they spread the word about you. So this is not a unicorn pitch, right? It's not like something you cannot achieve. It's very it's logical, and you hear it and you're like, oh, of course you do it like that. But I'm telling you, 90% of people don't do that. They're like, hi, my name is Becky, and I am the primo expert on this. I got one the other day. Oh, it was so bad. There were about 20 different headshots in there. None of them smiling. All like this. That's awkward. Then it was like link to media kit, link to CD. This is what I'm the expert in. And I'm like, why are you pitching to my show? Like, I have no clue what you're talking about. So really important to lead with value. And I'm not trying to scare anyone listening. Like Ashley and I are not trying to freak you out. Yeah. We're trying to show you what not to do, because it is instinctual, especially as you're establishing your business, to want to qualify yourself. Yeah. And so that's what you focus on in the emails when you're trying to get these deals, but that's not what you do, right? Yeah. You focus on giving value and how you can help. Any last thoughts on that, Ashley?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is so important. It's the initial email should be all about them, right? It needs to be about how amazing the brand is, the influencer, the blogger, whoever it is you want to work with, and then where you can come in and provide value, right? And you don't need to like spill your entire credential list, right? They don't need to know that. They just need to know how you're going to bring value after you've done your homework on who they are as a brand. That is so important. And then also I don't believe in the cold email. In this space, there's no such thing as a cold email.
Right.
No such thing. get on social media and engage with them first. So that way, when you come across their desk, they're not like, who is this Joe Schmo I've literally never had a conversation with? Have a good day, right?
Yeah.
You need to be constantly providing value, and you don't have to give away everything in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as entrepreneurs, we're like afraid of that, right? I think people are like afraid, like, oh, if I give away too much, why work with me? Listen, if you only have like 1 or 2 ideas, then we need to have a conversation, because that is really concerning. You're not a one-trick pony, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have way more to share. So
Absolutely.
don't be afraid to give value.
Well, and don't be afraid to give everything away either, because if you are, for example, coming on a podcast like this one and you're giving away strategy after strategy and tip after tip, that's going to build a raving fan. That's what this business is all about. I was just telling my mastermind, I've been reading, I have to take it off because my mic is like on this right now. I've been reading this. That's what it's all about. It's all about, and if you're listening, I was talking about .com Secrets by Russell Brunson, all about building that raving fan. That's your job. Your job isn't to be looking out and being like, okay, what can I keep just for this, just for this special client that I only get once a year. Our job is to build that raving tribe. So right. I love this. And I know, Ashley, you have a wonderful freebie to give to our audience. Why don't you tell them what that is and how they can receive it?
Such a good idea. Okay, so I have a media kit template that you can download, and it is fabulous. And it is for brand deals, and it'll break down how to, what to put in your media kit to send to a brand, numbers to look for, all of that kind of jimmy jam. And it's right on my homepage at sociallysavvyinc.com.
Beautiful. So we will link that below. I highly recommend that you download this. Building a media kit or a press kit is so important. It's a beautiful thing to do. And if you can incorporate more visuals into it with these photos that we're talking about, and if you want to be really wild, a brand video like I do in my media kit, whatever you to set yourself apart is absolutely divine. So thank you so much for sharing with that, Ashley. I love it. It's been so much fun having you on the show. Thank you for joining us for PR month.
Oh my gosh, you're the best. Thank you so much for having me.
And we will be seeing you in the next episode.
Whoop, whoop.
When I first got started with my online business, I looked at people who are getting featured in places like Huffington Post and Forbes and Inc. and wondering how the heck did they do that, right? In terms of me, I grew up in film and TV, so the video part and the branding part was really easy, but landing the press seemed impossible. But then I met a girl named Kristen Marquet who became my publicist and showed me the exact steps to take in order to land places like Entrepreneur on Fire, Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, Medium, Just Lex, the list goes on and on. It doesn't mean that I'm special. It means that we figured out a formula that works and we want to show you. Kristen and I have teamed up to write a book called Publicity Jumpstart, and we can't wait to share it with you. Get on the waiting list now. Order your copy today at publicityjumpstart.com, where we show you the top 10 ways to get your brand featured in the press. We can't wait to come alongside you in this journey. This is by far the most actionable entrepreneur book I've ever read when it comes to press, and I can't wait for you to get your hands on a copy. So go to publicityjumpstart.com and get yours today. I hope you loved this episode as much as I did. Now, we're all about building a tribe here at The Visible Entrepreneur, so be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and then head on over to the Facebook group. It's a great place where you can practice your video, live stream, and really enjoy the community that we have built. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next episode. Now get out there and get more visible.
That's a wrap.